welcome to another nice and nasty podcast. I can't remember. I say that every time. I can never remember what we're up to. It's something like, I don't know, 19, something like that. I might be wrong. It doesn't really matter. But this is actually a first. This is not just a first for the podcast. It's the first for my entire MainMeister channel. I've got a lady on it. Michelle, how are you?
Not too bad, thanks. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How does it feel to be the first ever lady on this channel?
Well, with me, sex and gender is sort of a moot point anyway, given my personal history. But I tend not to care, to be honest.
But it's an interesting thing. I don't know why. If I look at my analytics on YouTube, I think it's like 99.9999 old guys, and then there's like 0.1 female, and then it's I'm literally, I cater for like the 45 to 65-year-old, which is fine. I'm happy with that. I mean, I absolutely fall into that demographic, so not got a problem. So, and listen, Michelle, I always like to take any just general curiosity to massage my ego. How did you kind of stumble across MainMeister's channel? I mean, you've been watching my videos for quite a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, we have mutual friends, one of which is Mr. Lactobacillus Prime.
Yeah, Mark's a good lad, yeah.
Yeah, I actually visited his home, because, some years ago, 2018, I think. But we've known each other for some time, and, yeah.
Right, so was it kind of through Mark that you kind of got to know about my channel?
I think so. I mean, I've been a gamer for all my life, pretty much, and YouTube jumping channels and recommendations. I can't 100% say when.
Yeah.
But who knows? And to be honest, who cares?
Mark's probably responsible for me even being here, because I know you've been watching my channel for a long time, you've probably heard it, but I'm at the point now where I don't have anything new to say, so I just regurgitate the same shite over and over again, but people seem to enjoy it, so hey. Back, I don't know when it'd be, I'd been doing YouTube for about, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half, whatever it was. It wasn't a long time. It seemed like a long time back then, but then when you've only been doing something for a year and a half seems like a long time. But I'd been doing it for a couple of years, whatever, and I happened to mention to somebody at work, it was a security guard that worked in one of the offices, because I heard him talking about the Commodore 64, and I'm like, you know what that is? He went, oh yeah, I love all my old games, etc. I said, all right, and we got talking, and I said, oh, by the way, I've got a YouTube channel. Oh, really? What is it? And I told him what it was.
Yeah.
And then about a month later, I got a phone call from an engineer who he was a bit of an arsehole, to be honest with you. He was one of these guys, he just liked to kind of be, he would make fool of people, but not in a nice way. And he phoned up and he went, Mr. Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And right away, and in fact, I'd said to the guy, I said to the security guy, do me a favour, don't tell anybody, because I was a manager in the organisation. I thought, don't tell anybody, because there's a lot of people that just think, you're a man-child and it's immature to play video games. So you went, oh, that's fine. And this guy phoned up, Mr. Pac-Man. I'm like, how do you know that? Oh, we've seen your video channel, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. And he was making a fool of me, and then a couple other guys came in, oh, we've seen it, oh, MainMeister, oh, Super Mario, and all this kind of bollocks. And I just thought, you know what, I'm coming off it, taking it down. Yeah. I'm not standing for this. I'm not going to be, because it was one of these things I thought it's going to go not viral as such, but it's going to get sent to all the guys. I think it was Blackberries at the time. They're going to sort of circulate it. So I took my channel down. And then Mark got back in touch and he says, Alan says, you need to, and to be fair, there's a few kind of nice comments. They're saying, you know what, fuck them. He says, you do something that makes people happy. What does that guy do? Oh yeah, that's right. He phones you up, ridicules you. He gets 5 seconds of satisfaction. He says, you actually make stuff that people enjoy. You're a nice guy. Get your channel back up. And I thought, you know what, you're right. And the annoying thing was, Michelle, I'd literally just hit 500 subscribers. I got 500 subscribers, so I was quite elated. And then I said I took my channel down, and then when I put it back up a couple of days later, I was at like 36 subscribers. And I'm like, I've taken, I mean, it took me probably 2 years to get to 500, and then to suddenly plummet, I was totally deflated. And then next minute, I saw a notification from Mark saying, let's get Mainmeister back. And Mark put a video saying, explaining what had happened. Let's get people watching them again. And within a couple of days, I think I went up to like 600. So I'll forever be thankful for Mark for doing that. And I think that was probably when I would say it was a community. I don't really think it's a community anymore. I certainly kind of am. Like, I just go to my own and do my own thing. There's a few people that I do videos with, etc. But in the main, I don't know, the whole retro scene community, whatever. I don't know. I think it's not what it was. It's not what it was. But anyway, so you've been watching it for a wee while. You've got your own channel, haven't you? I mean, you do kind of videos from time to time.
Yep, definitely. Mostly gaming related. There was a period of some years of Minecraft. Life is sort of when you asked if I was okay, and I gave the stock answer. Actually, it's not. Life's kicked me into the gutter, and it's still kicking. My union rep has a meeting with the chief of staff tomorrow, and I'm wondering if I've still got a job, but that's another matter.
Really? Yeah.
And I also care for my mother, so she might call up. And also, I have to apologize because I have post-nasal drip, so I'm always clearing my throat.
Well, you've heard me in the last couple of weeks. I can't stop coughing. I've got the 1,000-day cough, and just as I keep thinking it's getting better, and it largely is better. I mean, about half an hour ago, I went, and then that was it. I was like, my daughter's like, "You all right, Dad?" Like,
don't die. It's not coughing. It's the coughing they carry you off in.
Yeah. So without giving too much away, are you in the UK?
Yes. Yeah, you can give away whatever. No question is off the table. If you want to ask. And if it's not an appropriate question, I will politely answer. I don't take offense.
I know, that's absolutely fine. So what is your kind of gaming history? When did you kind of first discover their video games?
Well, like you, I was a child of the computer literacy era. When all this was coming out, my first computer was a ZX81. So yeah, I've actually got some more ZX81s now. I broke a promise to myself, and I have the instructions ready for Scion Flight Simulator.
Oh wow!
The first flight simulator I ever played was on a ZX81, so that's ready when I can find the time.
Was that a 16K Rampack job? Was it?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've seen some wonderful games. I mean, the fact that they got like a game of chess to run in 1K is just nonsense. I mean, it's
there's some incredible stuff. I mean, it was actually capable of WRX high-res graphics out of the box, but it was never really documented. And it was some years later before somebody actually showed and demonstrated code of how to actually access that high-res graphics. And so it was capable of a lot more. And I've just been recently playing 3D Ant Attack on the ZX81.
Really? Is that,
yes.
What, is that a version for the ZX81?
Yes, it's for the ZX81, and it was it was a recent recode, and I think that the original coder for the Spectrum version actually got involved with it. Yep, I think he actually got involved with it. But I have to admit, the play screen is more restricted, and the characters are sort of jumping rather than the walking people. The characters are a lot more basic as well, but to get it running.
I mean, it used to confuse the shit out of me when you would read about. I mean, again, you know my background. But I mean, before I got a computer, I was taking in everything that I could about computers. I was buying computer magazines. I didn't have one, but I just loved reading about it because I thought one day I'm actually going to get a computer. But they used to go on about the ZX81, and it was like it's not powerful enough to this when it updates when it displays the graphics or something, or it updates the graphics, the screen would blank. And I was like, how the hell do you play a game if the screen blanks when it displays the graphics? I never really kind of fully understood that. Is it to do with the raster interrupt and all that bollocks? I don't know.
No, it's to do with mostly the RAM is accessed by both the CPU to do work, and it's also accessed by the video processor to get it to the information to display the screen. And on many computers, that is a fight. The BBC Acorn got around that when they did the BBC, and they introduced a technical clock thing. I'm cutting a very long story short. So that's one reason why the BBC games feel a lot smoother. But it's all to do with if the processor is running at the same time as the video is accessing memory, there's a fight going on. And when you switch it into fast mode, you're basically switching off the video so the processor has full access to RAM.
You've just got suddenly loud there, which is excellent.
Have I? Oh. Do you want me louder?
I hardly hear you. Anytime my dog made a noise, I couldn't hear you. You're suddenly there, poof, which is good.
Okay. It may be settings, it may be whatever. I'll see what I can do for audio.
No, that's fine. That's perfect. I could hardly hear you before. Now it's perfect. So.
Okay, how's that?
Yeah, no, that's much better. So was ZX81? That was your first computer. Did you build your own?
Yep.
Or you built your own?
No. Do me a favor. I was a spotty 13 or 14-year-old thing. My parents wouldn't let me have a soldering iron. Good grief, no.
I love the fact that people built their own computers. Just mental. So when did you get that? When would that be? Kind of late 70s, eh? Early
80s, I think. I mean, when was the first one? I think it was the tail end, so it was the very early 80s, something like 81 or something like that. Then I had that for a year because the BBC Micro was getting into schools, and somehow I convinced my parents to buy me a BBC Model B. Of course, the ZX81 had to be sold.
Yeah, of course. That was the rules back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I had that for 3 or 4 years and learned to code on that, assembly language, all the rest of it. And yeah, unfortunately, Dad had to go for my first PC. But hey ho.
So what was the difference between the A and the B BBC?
Memory for a start, and I think a few things weren't in there. The main thing was memory, but the BBC was always built to be modular and had a lot of I/O and was expandable. That was why it was made for education. That's what the BBC team built. You've seen Micromen, good grief. Yeah. You know the history of why it was made, and Sinclair's just wasn't built that way. So the memory was one thing because a lot of stuff was expensive, and I think it was about £100 cheaper, which meant that Mode 7 wasn't available. Mode 7 wasn't on the A, I don't think. But of course you could add these things in with chips. You could add more chips in and stuff.
So was the first Acorn BBC? Was it called the BBC because it was built for the computer program? That's why it became called the BBC. Yeah, never really. So if it had been STV, it could have, Scottish Television. It could have been the Acorn ITV. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it could have been.
The Acorn Channel 5.
Yeah, it didn't exist then.
Never really thought about that one actually. So presumably the first computer that they built that they showcased to whoever it was, Margaret Thatcher and what have you, and then they said, right, we're happy with that, let's put them into schools. I'm telling a lie, the first computer I ever got a shot of was I think it was an Apple II, it was in our geography class for whatever reason. It must have been. It was probably the teacher's computer, but we got to play like lemonade stand on it.
Yeah.
I took computer studies O grade, which is like the Scottish version of the O level, and it was BBCs. Presumably they were BBC Bs, were they? Do you think?
I think so. I think most of the educational stuff was built that way. Yeah, anyone sinking the money in would have got a BBC B and at least one floppy disk drive, which meant they would have updated, because the original BBC, but the bare bones BBC B that you bought didn't come with a disk interface. You had to buy the extra chips to put in it.
Aye. So how long was the A available for then?
Oof, I couldn't tell you. It was. I think they were still available for who knows how long. But I mean, the whole thing was actually over. It seemed like it was forever, but it was actually all over in the blink of an eye. Just a few years before the crash happened and everything went completely to pieces.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I always try and pigeonhole computer owners. Spectrum owners were the snotty little kids that used to smoke and take drugs and drink alcohol, and the BBC people were the people that got to go skiing holidays and they got spoiled. The middle class were the BBC owners. The Atari guys were like the wee geeks that kind of had their own mind, and they were the ones that were into Gary Newman and the Cure, whatever it was. Not that there's wrong with these two bands, I have to say. Then of course you had the Amstrad kids who they came along kind of later on. Why do you think the BBC never really? It never really took off as far as a gaming thing. I mean,
it wasn't really built for games. It was built for education and expansion. You have the tube port and all the rest of it, the user port, and all sorts of. You can connect it up to so much. And although it was, for most of the graphics colors, it really didn't have the graphics capabilities. And although it had a capable sound chip, there were others on the market like the C64 SID that blew it away. And so it was pure. The fact that it was good at some games, I think, was more a side effect rather than what it was aimed for. Rather than what it was designed for. It was designed for,
Obviously, nobody gave Richard Broadhurst the script. I mean, I appreciate it's a lot later on, but if you don't know who Richard Broadhurst is, it's Richard Broadhurst. He's a dude who writes games for the BBC now. They're modern games, and he's done about 15 arcade ports. Am I right in thinking it? In fact, I think Richard did actually tell me that he does use the ROMs. It's sort of emulation type thing, is it?
The ROMs inside.
Yeah. Does he use like arcade ROMs when he's doing these games?
I don't know. I mean, it would perfectly be possible for him to get the code and do whatever he does, because a lot of the earlier arcade machines was Z80s. And the chips. I mean, this. Incidentally, the audio thing was down to the software auto adjusting the microphone, so I turned that off.
Much better now, yeah.
Yeah, this is ZX81 with a backpack, and this is actually the ZXpand. And one thing you can maybe see on here is it's got SD card. Joystick, and it's also got sound, and that sound is courtesy of, I'm seeing this in the camera in reverse and it's upside down. There's a sound chip there, which was a chip that was also used in arcade machines back in the days, but obviously they had more in them. So a lot of the technology that this was running, the arcade machines, was running off the same technology, but it had more of things, if you know what I mean.
Did you build that thing?
No. You get them from eBay, but I have modified them. So this has got the power regulator has been changed. It actually runs. The output now goes through a converter, which goes to HDMI rather than anything else. There's still 16K of RAM inside it. There's an internal mod in there. There's a whole load of other bits and pieces that have been done to this, and also the keyboard has been changed. This keyboard, as you can see, comes off, and the actual keys are.
Yeah.
You can
I don't
hear.
know why I'm going like that, leaning closer, because it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. There's a little white thing there, which the keyboard has risen, and there's loads of micro switches underneath here. This is about started design 10 years ago, and they're still upgrading them and making new ones now. And you can actually get color add-ons for the ZX81. The trick is this era of hardware is still accessible to people who want to get into electronics and mod stuff and make stuff and expand stuff.
Yeah.
So games aside, these electronics are still very much accessible, whereas a lot of the later units, you stand no chance. They lock them all out. So to try and mod them, forget about it.
Would you still say that that's a ZX81?
I've heard your discussions. I've heard people go off on these discussions about emulation and hardware and all the rest of that crap. I don't go. I just don't go there. I mean, yeah.
I mean, you can compare. It's like, I've got I don't even know what it's called. Is it a Just Specky? And it's a ZX Spectrum. It's a brand new board, recreated board, whatever you want to call it. It's got the original thing, the keyboard, and it's got an SD card. It's got a joystick port. It is a Spectrum, but it's had additional things put on it. It's like the Ford Capri that your dad had. My dad didn't have one. But it was you pimped it. It was like you're pimping your machine. Is it is it still an original? Can you compare that with the original if you're going to play a game in it, whatever? But yeah, I'm all for bringing back. There's some real anal people who are like, that's wrong. It's emulation, or that's not the real thing. And that's like, fuck off. It's all about playing games and enjoying hardware. And if somebody seriously wants to sit with and try and code on a 1K ZX81, where if they happen to kick the table, the 16K RAM pack comes out and the links are code, that's up to them, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's nice. So I mean, it's got surely adding how can you? I don't understand how you can add a sound bit of hardware, because the code that's in it doesn't cater for it having sound, does it? Or...
Well, it's all about the expansion bus. I mean, like a PC, you've got PCI expansion buses, and they don't care what card you slot in to add functionality, and it's similar to that. You've got the bus out the back, and you can attach whatever you like on, and you just run whatever software. And the color actually works in a very interesting way, because it runs from a character thing, the character bank. So what you do is you assign colors to characters. So you can play a retro game which has got no clue, and when those characters hit the board knows to assign colors, so you can play old ZX81 games in color. Without, it's crazy.
Have you done any videos with that thing in action?
Yeah, they're on the channel. In fact, they're the latest ones where I've been pimping these and showing the add-ons, and they're long videos. My videos are long videos because I tend to go for things soup to nuts, so that whoever follows it follows everything, and they can make their own decisions. I just don't go. I try not to try to go just into what I'm doing, but also present the alternatives so that people can make decisions. That results in long videos, and my channel is not monetized because I don't need it.
So so to have the sound, I mean, obviously the ZX81 didn't have sound as standard, but when you plug whatever it is, the sound card chip, into this serial bus thing, does that effectively allow you to have sound in it then?
Yep. Exactly. It's just like in a PC where you have the expansion slots. You plug something into the expansion slot and it has the ability of that card, gives it. And it's the same with this one. You have the bus on the back. I mean, everyone thinks that it's only for like the 16K RAM pack, but actually there's an awful lot that you can plug on the back here. there are various bits and pieces. Also, there's the color module that also fits on the back.
Colour? How can you have colour on a ZX81?
What they do, first off, the interface has a chip on board, and the ZX81 works on characters. So you pre-program you send commands to the card to say these characters are in these colors, and then whenever the card has a SCART output on its own, so it automatically also allows you to output to SCART, which is a big bonus in itself. Gets you all through all sorts of other problems with UHF and the rest of that jazz. And whenever you load whatever game it is, even all the historic ones, it sends the output. The card recognizes the characters and colorizes them before it gives the output. So you can colorize all the old games.
And you can colorize them without changing the code then, is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
So how does that work? Because I'm not a techie person at all, as you probably know. But if you're just programming a game, surely if you're programming a colour computer, you're going to poke different parts of the memory to enable colour. That programs won't have these enabled because it didn't exist. So how does it work?
It sits between the game and the display output, and you pre-program it with, I'm going to play this game, so I know I need to load this color table. Mm-hmm. So when you load the game is just outputting its graphics as it would normally, and the card says, these characters, I need to color them in a certain way. So it does the colorization before passing.
So how does the card know what to color it is?
You pre-program it with the colors for the characters before you load the game.
So there's an additional bit of code you've got to kind of put in there. Right, yeah. Got you. I was thinking, it's like plugging a SID chip into ZX81. It's not going to start singing Morning in the Run, is it?
No.
Got you. I know computers are clever, but you've got to tell them what to do. So
exactly.
So that's mental. I mean, you contacted me a couple of weeks or a couple of months ago because I made a comment about, I can't remember. I wasn't. Yeah, I think it was when I did the What's in the Box, and I found this ZX81. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this.
People are using them.
Yeah. Did you have any at that point, or did you acquire them later on? Because I think you messaged me and said you managed to get a couple.
These I had to acquire later on because my original one had to be sold in order to buy the BBC Micro. The BBC Micro had to be sold in order to get the PC. So they're not the original ones that I had. Some of them are off eBay, but if you actually want one, you can actually go onto forums, Spectrum forums, and ZX81 forums, and say, "Hey, I'd like to buy. I'd like to buy a ZX81. Can anyone help out?" Because there are people for whom the enjoyment is buying them and refurbishing them and then selling them on.
Yeah. Which is great because you take these people out of the equation, and people like me would never really get to enjoy the original systems. I mean, you get people, you know Panther UK, one of his friends, he's got something like 50 Commodore 64s. I've seen a photograph, he's like his room, it's just floaty wall of disk drives and Commodore 64s. But I think he does, to be fair, he does sell them on, but it does annoy me slightly. I'm a big Vectrex fan, as you know. I'm lucky enough to have a couple. Now, the reason I've got two is because if one breaks, I've got another one to use. But I'm a member of a Vectrex Facebook thing page, whatever it is. And there's some people like, I've got 14. They put pictures of like, that's just wrong. You know, what's the point of having 14? It's just, I don't get that. I mean, if I could have 14, I would have 14. But I did have 3, and I thought, well, I don't need 3.
Yeah.
But I want to have a spare one because I know that the chances they fit. Is that your phone?
Yeah.
You want to get that?
Well, we're currently the union rep is having discussions with the. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that discussion has happened. I've talked with them. An email has gone back, and things are happening.
We can talk about that out with this. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's the same way when you see somebody putting a picture of they've got the entire NTSC collection of SNES games, and they're all shrink wrapped, and in cupboards. You know, games, computers, consoles, whatever it might be. They're meant to be played, you know, and these things are becoming harder and harder to find. And I don't know. I think there is a bit of selfishness on people's part if they want to hold on to like 14 Vectrexes, or is it Vectrexes? I don't know.
I haven't got a clue.
Who knows?
I'm dyslexic. I'm useless with English.
I would love to sit and you're welcome to come on a Chums Talk Pish or a live Friday Waffle at some point, Michelle. We can talk pish about stuff. But the purpose of this podcast is the nice and nasty. Have you listened to any of them at all? Yes,
I've listened to some of them. Caught bits. Lately, time has been an issue. I will happily admit. So I've skipped bits. But I have to admit I am one of those people who's 1 point timed 5 times.
But you know the premise behind it. The reason I started up a podcast, because some people say, why are you doing podcasts? You do videos. I think there's something really pure about just listening to something rather than, you know, watching, because some days if you're watching a video you're not really listening, whereas if you're driving a car and you've just got a podcast on in the background.
Yeah.
Is that just messages coming in rather than a phone call?
Yeah, these are messages coming in. Yep.
Okay. What was I talking about?
If I don't have a job, I would be glad to join you on some of this podcast. This is the union rep, and he is talking with the yeah.
Do you want to take 5 and get back in touch? And we'll resume in 5-10 minutes.
No. He's just sending me loads of stuff.
Okay. Not a problem. Anyway, so you know the premise of the podcast.
Yes.
It's the government decided to ban all video games that are illegal, but you can pick 3, and that's all you'll ever play ever again.
Yeah.
If it's an online game, there are people on the other side of the world that can play it, so you've got that availability. It's using Wi-Fi, it can be an arcade, it can be anything at all that you want. And then on the converse side, I'm going to ask you to pick 3 games that quite simply should not exist, whether they're pish, whether you just don't like them, you hate the type of game. You know, I mean, I even had somebody picking Doom because they hated the fact that Doom, whilst they don't have anything against Doom, it led on to online games and Call of Duty, and then, you know, we know where that
went. They had their own reason.
Yeah. So, what I'd like you to do is give me one at a time and quite simply tell me why it is going to be your game of choice to either keep or eradicate from history. So, game number 1, what would you keep?
Elite. But the executive 6502 coprocessor edition.
What the hell is that? Is that the Master BBC or something, is it? Oh.
No, the BBC, as I said earlier, one of the things it could do is expansion. And as you can see with the BBC over my shoulder, there's another box to the right-hand side that we call a cheese wedge. Inside there is a second processor, a second 65 processor. I think that's another 6502.
So 2 chips, 2 processor chips.
Yeah, there's one in the main beeb, and it feeds off that one. And that one,
right.
It gives it the ability to have more colors and more depth to it. Although I have to admit, in that version, I think there may be 1 or 2 more ships, possibly. But the Thargoids will come at you more often in that version.
All right. So, and it's presumably it's the original vector style graphics.
Yes, all the same. But because you've got the extra power, you've got more colors than the rest of it.
And was that actually? So was that like a version? Well, presumably it was commercially available then, was it?
Yes. Yeah, it was commercially available. There were a number of.
Yeah, it didn't upgrade the original Elite to run like that. Was it a specific version you had to buy for it?
Yeah, you had to buy that specific version.
Is that available to download or grab online somewhere?
Yes, I will just check for you now. You may. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to. BBC.
Because I'd love to have a go at that. Stick that in the Mister and give it a go. I don't know if Mister supports the twin process thing.
Right. There is a website called the bbcmicro.co.uk, and it is the complete archive. And you can also play a load of the games in there on the browser. Whether this one will do, I don't know.
It's funny. When we're talking, I think you joined the live stream on Sunday when I was playing. What was I playing again? Yeah, I started playing some those BBC games, and you sort of said, "Oh, they're all available to play in the browser." And when people say that, I just kind of shuck away. Oh, why would you want to play a game in a browser? That's ridiculous. But when you think about it, it's the easiest way to play a game. I mean, I've never actually played a game. Well, I've inadvertently had a shot of a game in a browser. I think I clicked on the button to download it, but instead it loaded it up in a browser. So I suppose it's the most simplistic, easiest way to play a game, isn't it?
Yes, and yes, it is known on there as the enhanced edition. It was released in '86 by Acorn Soft commercially. It will play on the Beeb and the Master, and I think that on board it will automatically kick off itself. But you should be able to. What you were playing on the Mister, you had the VXD files, which are virtual hard disks.
Yeah.
You also have the SSD files, which are single-sided disks, and the DSDs, which are the double-sided disks.
Oh, that's what
so you can download this as well, which you'll probably need to do if you want to save anything, and that comes in as an SSD file. But you may need to change the settings to be. I think you've actually got a master setting because it will play on the master without the second processor. So I think you were playing on the master settings on yours. So
I think the weird thing with the Mister Core, the only way you could load discs was if it was enabled as the BBC Master. When you knocked it back to a BBC B, the option to insert discs vanished, which is a bit strange.
There is a definitive comparison of Elite versions on the Stardot website. Somebody's just sent me an email, but I know exactly what that's about. And there are the different versions that were available. There are differences in various ones, and I think I've found an easier version which lists that there's somewhere with a list of the various versions of Elites and what you can find, the differences in them, what's going to come and get you harder.
But you can play this dual processor one in a browser, and it'll play as it would.
Yes.
As if you're playing it in a thing. Right, cool. I'll need to.
You may have a problem
saving games. If you could drop an email with that, Michelle, that would be wonderful, because I guarantee I'll forget exactly what you told me.
No worries.
It means I'll have to watch this back to find out, and I tend not to watch anything I record.
No problem. In fact, once this is finished, you should be able to go back through my previous emails and find the list where you managed to not see what I'd sent.
Oh, is that right? I apologise. Right,
it's all on there.
I'll need to dig in. Excellent. So yeah, Elite. I mean, I'm sure Elite's been picked by other people in the previous podcast. I mean, well, I'll let you explain why Elite.
It was innovative. It's never really been. It's unique, and you get a couple of missions in it, and you can just explore and do what you like. The fact that it was all generated off the back of it's just it's impressive. Just like it. So you've got to be on the ball.
Yeah, I mean it's a one loader, isn't it? It's a one loader game.
Yeah. Not on the hard disk. Not on the floppy disk. Sorry, on the floppy disk it will refer to the disk.
I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I played the Commodore 64 one. I did have it on disc. I can't recall whether it loaded. I don't know if anybody that's watching this or listening to this can tell. I can't remember whether it did actually load once it loaded. But I mean, I know it came on tape.
Yes.
although I don't know how. Yeah, I suppose you must have been able to save the tape, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to really convey just how incredible that game was, and indeed is. You know, looking at it now, kids would go, "Well, you know, I'd rather play Fallout 4 or whatever it is."
Yeah.
But you know, when you see, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You said it was like different. It was innovative. I can't even say that word. It was original. Everything. We were too busy playing Chucky Egg and Manic Miner and Space Invader clones, and then suddenly this thing came out. I mean, we played Space Invaders and Galaxian, and you were piloting this little ship, moving it left to right, and suddenly this game appeared where you could fly your own spaceship, and you could dogfight, and you could dock, and you could buy slaves, for God's sake. You know what I mean? Obviously, if it came out now, we need to rewrite a bit of that. But yeah, it was. I mean, that was one of the few immersive games that I got into. I think I got as far as Dangerous. I never kind of. I think I then got the Commodore Amiga and my Atari ST, and I continued to play it. Though I never quite enjoyed it as much as I did when I had it on the C64. I mean, it was a flickery mess, but I didn't know any different. But apparently, I think, was it David Braben or Ian Bell or both of them or whatever, they said, I think, was it the Archimedes was supposedly the best version? I don't know. I mean, that's 3D kind of.
I don't know. I never played the Archie. The Archie, and I never really had the money for one of those. That was the ARM 2, ARM 3. I'm not sure which one.
That was kind of on sort of similar to an Amiga, wasn't it? So power-wise, was it?
No. The Archie was quite more complicated. You know, the ARM processor. The first ARM processor came out for the BBC Micro, and it was in another cheese wedge. And I did see one go on eBay many years ago for about £400.
Yeah.
So then they developed the ARM further, and it was a completely different instruction set and quite a different machine.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a powerful game because I think Zark was the first game. It was a sort of like a 3D carpet scrolling thing, and you piloted this. I mean, it was one of the most unwieldy games. You used the mouse, you pushed the mouse forwards to thrust, and if you happened to move the mouse left or right, it would go like that. Whoa, and it was it was a nice machine. So yeah, I mean, Elite, you know, there's not really much more to be said about Elite. It's an astonishing game, and it goes without saying, there's no end to the game. So that's going to, when you're getting fed up of, you know, being on your own or whatever it is, you're never going to complete it.
Yeah, 8 galaxies.
Yeah. There you go. Excellent choice. So game number 2, and why?
For keeping, yes?
For keeping, yep.
Night Ninja.
Night Ninja.
Ninja, yep.
Right, that's what system is that one?
It's another Beeb, and it's a recent one by Chris Bradburn.
Right, I'm not aware of that game. Could you explain a wee bit?
One thing that the BBC doesn't have much is much of colour depth, and sound is difficult. But this one it makes use of the BBC's speed, really. And what you've got is you've got a level with a few platforms. You play a ninja, and lanterns will appear at various points, and you've got to go and get them. Now, as you can guess, it's not that easy because there's little black things coming across from each side of the screen and working their way across, occasionally jumping up or down. You just don't know what they're going to do. You've got a sword and you can just swipe them and kill them, but if you happen to jump wrong, they kill you. And you've got to get about 15 of these lanterns to go to the next level. It's addictive, it's smooth, it's responsive, and I'm just hooked on the damn thing. I've only got past the first level twice.
Is it one you have to buy, or can you download it for free?
No, it's free. It's on the BBC Micro Archive game site.
Right,
you can play it in the browser.
So is it a distinct kind of arcade game, would you say?
Yeah, you can probably think of it as sort of jetpack without the jets and without the without the fuel. You just something appears, you got to go get it. So it's a
Yeah.
similar premise to others, but it's smooth, it's addictive, and I like it, and it drives me nuts. I've died again.
So it's that game that's like just one more go, is it?
Yeah,
And does
you
it
got
have
it.
that annoying thing where you want to play again, you got to press fire, and you got to wait for the title screen, you got to press fire and press fire, or is it just boom, 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 and you're instantly back
It's
into the
straight
game?
in.
Yeah,
It's straight in.
that kind of interface can never be overrated because it's not the first time I go to play a game, especially kind of more modern games. You play a game and you die, and you go, "All right, I'll have one more go," but you've got to wait a minute for it to kind of load up. But these games, you just go boom, 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 and you're instantly back into the action again. That's where you end up. Before you know it, you've played 20 games in like 10 minutes.
Yep. Yeah.
So excellent. Yeah, I'll look forward to actually giving that a go. So that would kind of scratch your arcade twitchy itch.
Yeah. At the moment, ask me in another couple of years, and it may be something else. But
of course,
for the minute,
yeah. I'll ask you tomorrow. Love change. So, game number 3. I hope you've thought about this very carefully.
Chucky Egg.
Okay. Yep.
Firm favorite. You've got to have the reflexes, and on the beeb, I think it's just so responsive, and you can go around it so many times, and yeah, it's just.
What was the name? This is me putting my nerdy hat on. What was the name of the guy that wrote it? Was it like Nick Aldridge or Nick Aldrin or something?
I can't remember, but I can probably look it up.
Go on then. You're going to prove it wrong. Something tells me it was Nick something or other. Nick Aldridge.
All I do is a quick search.
It's probably like Michael Hunt or something like that. I don't know. It'll be something completely different from what I think it was. I'm sure.
Let's have a look. I'm currently looking at about 12 different versions. The first one was A&F Software, Beau Joly. Nigel Alderton and Doug Anderson.
Nigel, I was kind of, did I say Nick Aldridge, Nigel Alderton? So I had the initials right. I was kind of right, but completely wrong as well. I think there's a bit of debate in the sort of retro scene as to what is the best version of that.
Oh, well, I'm looking at 12 different versions for the BBC now. You got Chucky Egg, Chucky Egg 2, Chucky the Upgrade for Chucky, Chucky Egg 4, Chucky Cheat, Egg the Upgrade, Chucky Egg the Sequel, Chucky Egg Hack, Chucky Egg 2009 Hack, Chucky Egg 2009, Chucky Egg Professional Edition, and Chucky Egg 2023.
Professional Edition. But well, I mean, the fact that there are so many, I mean, it's the same with Manic Mine, or I don't know if you've ever downloaded like a collection of games for the Atari 800. There are about 100 Boulder Dashes, just all these different levels. Yeah. But Chucky Egg, I mean, it's. Well, I'll let you explain why it's on your list of 3.
It's on the list because it's fast, it's responsive. It just keeps you on your toes, and you're immersed in it. One mistake and you're buggered. But it's not. It's got. With a lot of the other games, like, for example, Killer Gorilla, you've got to be absolutely pixel precise or you've missed the jump and you buggered it, and it really frustrates the hell out of you. This one, it's fluid. You know, it's bouncy, bouncy, and it hasn't got an annoying. You've got to be in exactly the right spot.
It's a bit like comparing China Minor with Bounty Bob Strikes Back. One is impossible, and the other one is you can move it and you can kind of move in mid-air and that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's not a game. Being a C64 owner, it's not a game that I really played all that much. I mean, it did come out for the C64, but I don't know. It kind of largely passed me by. I have played it on the Spectrum. I love the sound in the Spectrum. It's great. And as you say, it's just one of these games. I think it's like me with Super Pipeline and Super Pipeline 2. It's just it's really fun to play. It's not overly difficult. You can get quite far in it, and it's great fun.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the latest one that's been published. Again, it's by Chris Bradburn. Guess what game is now on the BBC Micro?
China Minor.
No. Ghostbusters.
Is it?
Yeah. It's there. Go to the site. It's there.
Did that never come out originally for the BBC? No.
I know. I don't think so. For a start, it had Speech, which.
Yeah. I suppose when you think about it, I mean, the probably the what's the word for it? Not the glory years. Well, we'll say the glory years. So I can't think of the right phrase. For like the Commodore 64 Spectrum was probably 1985, 86, 87. That was probably when all the big games were coming out. The BBC had largely stopped kind of being a thing at that point, hadn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. It's always been. It depends who it's a thing for, really. Acorn themselves went under, but the ARM lived on, as did the team. So as such, the Archimedes pretty much died with Acorn. Although there's a huge community doing things. I mean, there is so much a huge community still with the Beeb, with the ZX81, with the Spectrum. They've still got huge communities.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And I'm just looking at 3 new games have come out. Well, including Ghostbusters this year. Last year, Repton 3 Redux, Hopman, Pixel Dash, Sokoban. Sokoban's a new one, I think. That's a good one. Battlezone. There's another one that's come out last year. People are making these games and they're making them better than they were, smoother than they were. And wow.
Actually, just before I forget, one of my friends, Ian Boffin, actually, he's not a friend just because, like, through my YouTube. I've known Ian for 20 odd years. I knew him through the Yak Yak, which was Jeff Minter website. Ian Boffin actually designed the graphics for one of probably the best early looking BBC games with a caveman, Frack. He did the graphics. And it was his name Pete, something another Orlando. He did that was his mate. He did the coding for Frack, and Ian did the graphics.
Now, Frack was another one of those games that I never got on it with because it was quite precise.
It was, yeah. If you happen to, I think if you happen to walk off a platform any more than really slow, it would just go, oh, and it would just keep going until it hit the ground. Yeah, the gravity side of things wasn't the best. Like, one of my dogs was having a nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear him. He's obviously chasing a cat or something. No, it's, what do you call it? Chucky Egg is one of these games. I thought I was quite good at it because I could get like to about the 6th level, and then I was talking to one of my mates, and he's like, I can actually play it, and then
around and around
I need to stop playing it now. It just goes on indefinitely. I'll never restart level, but there is a bit of a playground wars when it comes to what is a definitive version. I've heard the Spectrum community will say their version is best. Then I've also heard people saying the BBC was original and is obviously the best one.
Well, original, it doesn't really bother me too much. It's just I know that it's fast, it's responsive, and I think some of that is down to the BBC's keyboard.
Yeah, which is one of the nicest keyboards out there.
Yep.
Though for 400 quid, it should be.
It should be.
Right, that is your 3 elite. Night Warrior,
Night Ninja.
Night Ninja. Was it?
Yeah.
Night Ninja.
And
Night
Chucky.
Ninja, is that what it's called?
Yep, Night Ninja.
Yeah. Is that what the ninja's mum says to him when he's kissing him?
Night Ninja.
And obviously Chucky Egg. So yeah. I can't comment on the middle one, but I will have a look at that for sure. 3 great games. Obviously, 3 different games. You've got your 2. You've got one that you play for fun because you enjoy it. Well, both of them, your Night Ninja and your Chucky Egg, and you've got your long-term one that you're never going to get
Platformer Arcade. Yeah.
But anyway, it's not all jellies and ice cream. Unfortunately, it's now time for you to eat your cold vegetables. You need to pick the 3 games. Archie, stop moving about. You need to pick your 3 games. shouldn't have existed for whatever reason. So, game number 1 and why?
Darts.
Darts.
Yep. Utterly inane.
Is that an actual name of a computer game, or
Yeah.
is it just general darts games?
Well, you can. I suppose you could say darts games full stop, because I've just typed it in here and there was God knows how many for the BBC Micro alone. But it's just inane. You just.
Michelle, give me 2 seconds. I've got to walk out for a quick pee. I'll be back literally 2 seconds.
No worries.
Right, come on, out. Right, out the front. Come on, out you go. Right, anyway, darts. So I would just you can literally pick any one at all. Was there a particular? I mean, did you play darts on the BBC? Presumably, we're talking about BBC game, is it?
Yeah, but it was so, you've got a level meter and it's like you just hover over the space bar and you just, it was so boring. Once you'd got it down, you got it down on pat. It was just boring. It's just a waste of time.
So did you actually buy one of these darts games thinking it was going to be good?
Did you think, did we actually pay for any of our games back then?
I did.
Well, I paid for some of them, obviously, because but some of them came off. There was all sorts. Some of them came from listings that you just spent ages typing in, and then you had this inane game, and you think, why did I just waste hours of my life?
And try being a BBC, a Commodore 64 owner, because for whatever reason, the same. Well, you never got the same game, but the same game on a Spectrum would be like 2 pages of Computer and Video Games magazine.
Yeah.
The C64 was 5.
Yeah.
And it just, I only ever typed in one of these. Me and my mate decided one night to type one in, and as soon as we finished it, instead of saving it like any non-fool would do, I immediately just typed in run, with a black screen. But yeah, darts. We're going to put the whole darts game genre into the bin, or whatever you want, the furnace, the recycle bin. The problem, and these kind of games, darts, pool, snooker, gambling games, they were really prevalent in the early days. Early days of computers.
Yeah.
They don't really work. I mean, you can count. I've played a pool game on the PC that uses the mouse as a kind of cue, which kind of works. But I mean, darts in real life, you hold this object and you throw it. How can you possibly recreate that? On a computer?
You can't.
They
tried many times.
What's that?
They tried many times, as I can see.
Did you never play? There's only one which I think is quite credible. Not incredible, but credible. And it was 180 by Mastertronic. What was it called? Added Dimension. Mastertronic Added Dimension. It was done in a very cartoon sort of way. You played against these stupid kind of characters. But it was like the drunk hand. The hand would just kind of go like that. And you could sort of influence it with a joystick. What you wanted to do, it would just move about like that. But then if you move the joystick up and down, you got it go like that. And then you just wait for it to pass over just above the treble 20. In fact, when I played it on a live stream fairly recently, I managed to get a 9 darter, which is like the best. So that shows you how unrealistic it is.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we're going to put the entire darts computer game genre into the bin.
Sorted. Yeah.
You're not going to say snooker next, are you?
No.
All right, game number 2, game of shame number 2. What's it going to be?
Blockbusters.
Yep.
Absolutely. Oh my god. They thought that the tune was so catchy, and on a computer it was just so annoying. Da 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 da. You know.
That'll be me getting a copyright strike. Thanks for that, Michelle.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's so old.
Yeah.
It's probably out.
One of these ones.
Probably out of copyright.
I think I did have. I don't know if I think it was multi-load actually. I can't remember where I got it. I did try it because I mean, let's not underestimate it. Blockbusters was for a kid of the sort of the 80s. It was. I quite enjoyed watching it. Did you enjoy the TV program?
The TV program lost its shine after a while. Pretty much the only thing that was actually entertaining was, "Can I have a pee, please, Bob?"
Yeah. That's...
Come on.
And you always had this twat that had a little teddy bear. Oh, what? Tell us about your mascot. You know, this is
yeah,
so it is. Actually, one of my mates, his friend, I think he'd done something like 10 gold runs. He was like, they couldn't get rid of him.
Yeah,
but it was I quite enjoyed it. I mean, it was quite an entertaining program on the TV at the time. But yeah. I think it's like all these. I think what you're hinting at, and I'm putting words in your mouth here. Things like you could probably get rid of Trivial Pursuits and all these other kind of computer versions. Monopoly. I mean, Monopoly was one of these games that I remember getting a basic version of Monopoly for the C64, thinking, oh great, I can play Monopoly in the Commodore 64. And you realise it was absolutely pish. And the only fun that I got out of Monopoly was there was a speech synthesizer, easy for me to say, called Sam, and I was able to insert basic commands so that when you pass the go, it would say like wanker or something like that. It would come out with some childish thing. But yeah, board games. I'm going to increase we're going to put all board games.
Yeah.
Computer version of board games should never exist.
For me,
why do you think that's the case? Why do you think they don't work? Because it should be, instead of having a piece of cardboard with little counters, you've got this fantastic computer version. So why is it shite on a computer?
Well, for me, being dyslexic, I knew the answer. I could never spell it correctly. So it would mark me down. I'd lose you. I just couldn't spell it. Yeah. And yeah, when you're playing with multiple people, a game with multiple people on the board, there's something about you all getting around the board. It's not quite the same, and throwing the dice and the interaction. It's not quite the same when you just sat in front of a keyboard and flat.
And you can't cheat. You can't try and have a sneak a look at the answer, and you can't steal money out of the bank when you're playing the computer. Where's the fun in that? But I mean, I do remember buying for our younger viewers or listeners, Trivial Pursuit. I think people called it Trivial Pursuits. I think it did have an S. I'm sure it did. Trivial Pursuits. I've been calling it the wrong name all these years, but it was a game that was huge in the sort of early 90s. It's a board game that you get different sort of questions, different categories. And it was like, it became the sort of staple diet of 1990s Britain. You know, on a Friday night, you and your mates would get a few beers, you'd get Domino's pizza, and you would play Trivial Pursuit, you'd fall out and argue about it. And then they thought, oh, let's release it for the computer, because you're not just going to get bits of card with questions, you're going to get music, it's going to play music. You're like, you know, I don't think it extended to like animated graphics or anything, but I remember buying it on I think it was Domark actually that released it. It came out on a disc, and it seemed like, this is going to be fantastic. I can play Trivial Pursuit on my own, and then it's a bit like playing chess. You know, you ultimately realise that it's a pointless exercise. Well, nobody wants to play Trivial Pursuit. What's that?
I'm just looking at 4 different editions that came out in 1988 and one in 1989. You've got Genius Edition, okay.
Yeah, Baby Boomer.
Young Players Edition, fair enough.
What was that last one?
Young Players Edition. Baby Boomer Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And Trivial Pursuit 2, A New Beginning. Seriously, good grief.
Yeah.
What?
Nah, you've got to... you've got a. I'm actually just looking over there. At Christmas time, I got given a Christmas present by somebody. Can't remember who it was, and it's a Pictionary, and it comes with a pen, so you draw in the air, and it then transfers onto your TV. I tried it, and it's like. Do you remember? Did you ever have a Commodore Amiga?
No.
No. Well, did you ever
I
have
lusted
any?
after them. I lusted after them, but I was feeling a PC addiction at the time.
Well, you must have had like a sort of art package on a computer.
What package?
An art for like drawing, where like
yeah.
I was like, I mean, on the Amiga you had Deluxe Paint, which was like the kind of main one. When you if you pick a brush that's like really thick and you draw and you go like that, a circle, it goes, and it's like it jerks. It's really slow and sluggish. That's what that thing's like, and that's why you should never try and replicate a board game and turn it into something that's got a device that requires a battery and a bloody TV. And it's the same with board games. I mean, getting back to Blockbusters, I did play it briefly, and then I realised just as a quick segue, I've got Blockbusters on my phone. I don't play games on my phone at all. I've got Blockbusters on my phone. It's great. You can just go in and play. It's against two random people.
Yeah.
I've played, I don't know. I've played maybe about, 500 matches. It's like first to two. And I've won, I've won about 497. So my rating is like 99.96.
Yeah.
And every now and again, I mean, I was getting to a point, I was playing it every day, and I was terrified that I was going to lose. A couple of times I would go 1-0 down, oh bloody hell, I'm going to, and then I thought, I can't afford to lose because I've got this such an amazing stat. And it got to a point, although I've still got my phone, I refuse to play it because it's like, it's so addictive.
Yeah.
And ultimately pointless as well.
Yeah, but at least with the online editions, you've got up-to-date questions and up-to-date knowledge. With the one from previously, it's like 40-year-old questions.
That there lies the problem. That's another problem with these quiz games, especially on 8-bit machines. You would have like maybe 4 sections you could load, and each one would have like 20 questions. So within a couple of days play, you were getting the same. Who was Starsky and who was his counterpart in this popular American TV series? Oh, that'll be Hutch. Oh, we got that one yesterday. So you got the same questions within a couple of days of playing it, which rendered the game pointless.
Yeah.
So, well, you copied it obviously, but I was going to say a game like Blockbusters would eventually become a tape that you would record a pirate copy of Chucky Egg onto, wouldn't you?
Yeah, eventually.
So that's an excellent choice. That was game number 2. So game number 3 of your game of shame, what's it going to be?
Frogs and Dogs.
You'll need to expand on that one.
Yeah, it's a platformer. Sort of like you remember the Eddie Kidd sort of thing where you've got 3 lines and you got to sort of you as you go out one end, you're coming in the other side.
Oh, is it that? Are you talking about? Yeah, I think
it's like that. But
did you see Eddie Kidd?
Yeah, one of those. But Frogs and Dogs is like that, only it's sort of slightly different. It's a 3-level line, and you're this frog, and you've got to go from one end. You're going from one end to another. You're trying to touch lily pads that are static. Any lily pad which is flashing is poisonous. So you've got to jump over it, and you never know which line you're going to come out of. And there's this dog doing the reverse. So you never know what's going to come out where. And it is utterly, why the hell am I playing this? And it was in micro user.
It's a wee bit like, do you remember Head On? It was a really early arcade game. It was like a grid, and you had a little race car, and it would go around. It would just go around like you would go around anti-clockwise, and there was like 5 lanes, so you're going around.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd move, and then the computer car would go around the other way, and you would try to avoid. He would try and hit you head on. So it was kind of like that. You had your dog coming towards you. You're going for it. So when you start off left to right, you move along, and then presumably when you get to the end of the screen, it then moves to a different level. And is it just like repetitive?
Yeah, very repetitive.
Avoiding the dog.
Yeah, very repetitive. And I mean, it was a type-in. So so it was, but good grief, utterly pointless.
In some ways that was worse, because rather than burning like £5.99 your hard-earned cash, you probably wasted like 5 hours typing the damn thing in.
Yeah, time is money.
Only to have your illusions absolutely shattered.
Yeah. God, yeah. Throw it in the bin. I do. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Listen, that's so. Just to recap, your games that you would take: Elite, Night Ninja, and Chucky Egg.
Yep.
And then games of shame is darts, blockbusters, and
Frogs and dogs. Yeah.
Or is it frogs and dogs?
Frogs and dogs. You'll easily find them all on that site. I've restricted myself to the BBCs because that's the yeah.
I will make a point of not playing that game.
Yeah.
Anyway, Michelle, listen, thank you very, very much for joining me in this.
Thank you for having me.
I've been watching my channel for a long time. You're well known with everybody, and I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy listening to this and to actually watching it as well. But anytime you want to come on for a ramble, you're more than welcome.
Well, if I lose my job, I might take up on that offer.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. Anyway, take care. And as always, folks, thank you very much for watching and for listening. Till next time, take care.
Bye.